of our lesson, Chapter 2, Section 1, Research Methods. Previously, we discussed the types of info, qualitative and quantitative information, and we talked about the first quantitative method, which is the survey research. Today, we will discuss the secondary analysis, which is the second type of the quantitative methods. A secondary analysis is when a researcher uses information that someone else has already gathered, or in other words, is when the researcher uses pre-collected information. Emil Durkheim was the first to rely on pre-collected data. The types of pre-collected data are government reports, company records, voting lists, and prison records. The advantages of this type of method or analysis is that it's inexpensive. The data is already collected and we use these pre-collected data. It can be studied over a long period of time. The data is already available. We can use it and no one needs it. It's available for everyone. Researchers cannot influence the subject. We already have the results. We already have the analysis. We will only read it, discuss it, or analyze it. We do not influence the subject that has been investigated. The disadvantages, on the other hand, is that the original information that was used might be biased. The people who already collected the data that we are using might have put their personal opinion or made any mistake that made the source that we are using now as secondary analysis biased. Second point is that information may be outdated and does not suit the other researchers' needs. The info that I'm reading might be outdated. The results might be applicable, for example, 20 years back, but I cannot use it now. The third type of quantitative method is an experiment. An experiment is when the research occurs in a lab with a minimum number of influence. This is not usually done in field research. For example, the experiments that are run on rats, chimpanzees, or any other species of animals in order to discover their characteristics or to test any hypotheses that they have. The advantage is that it can be replicated. I can run the same experiment over and over and over again. The variables can be changed. For example, if I'm testing the rats and the speed, I can, for example, change the speed and put, for example, IQ, or put rats and fear, or rats and environment. I can change the two variables that I'm testing. The third advantage is that it's inexpensive. On the other hand, the disadvantages is that the lab environment are artificial. Usually, when the variables are put under testing, there are no other influences that would change. For example, if we're still talking about rats, the rats usually are in cages where they do not face for example, the interference of humans if they found them and killed them, or other animals eating them. So the environment is artificial. It's made up. It's not the same as the real life or life outside the lab. It does not suit sociological research. This is the same as going back to the first point. We do not use this in field research. We cannot take this experiment and say that the results are exact and precise, and this happens in real life. The variables are limited. You cannot change all, or you do not have a lot of choices because you're still related to the choices inside the lab. You cannot get any variables or any options from outside, from the field, because you cannot take the experiment to outside the lab. Now, to the second type of research, which is qualitative, related on quality, not quantity, that has more words, feelings, and descriptions. The only type that you need to know is field research. Field research is a research that takes place in a natural lab setting. How is this related to an experiment? They are the same. They're both experiments. So field research and experiment, they're both experiments. What is the difference? The experiment is done inside a lab with a minimum number of influences, While the field research, it's an experiment that's taken outside. We make an experiment on real life people, leaving all the influences to enter. It's the opposite. We do not have a minimum number of influences. It looks closely at aspects of life that cannot be measured quantitatively, things that cannot be measured in numbers and statistics and modes and means. No, we need words, we need emotions, we need sentences to describe what happened and what's going to happen and the results. The most common method of field research is case study. So, case study is one type of field research. A case study is a thorough investigation of a single group, incident, or community. I can run a case study on a group of people sharing similar characteristics. I can run a case study on a certain incident. For example, suicide, sexual harassment, abuse, bullying. I can pick a certain incident and run a case study on it. Or I can run a case study on a whole community. This method assumes that the findings in one case can be generalized to similar situations. When I study a single incident, for example, like bullying, I can take my findings and results and generalize it to other situations that involves bullying or people. Now, the advantages of field research or case study in particular is that it provides depth of understanding in details. The experiment is run on real life people in real life situations. There is no artificial resources. So it gives you a lot of information and understanding on the experiment itself, on the people itself, and a lot of details. Unexpected discoveries. You would never know how people react until you put them in the certain situation. New insights that can be incorporated into the research. So all of the advantages, they sum up to one point, which is that the field research and the case study, they come up with new ideas, understandings, details, and unexpected discoveries because of real life humans being tested as an experiment. The disadvantages, on the other hand, is that it's difficult to generalize. If I run a certain experiment on a group of people, let's say group A, I cannot guarantee that when the same experiment is run on group B, I will have the same results because people react differently in different situations. Even if it's in the same situations, they still react differently. It's hard to duplicate. I cannot run the same experiment again on even the same people and get the same results. Third disadvantage is that it takes a lot of time. Unlike the experiments in lab, experiments on people need to be in normal settings, so they take a lot of time. The last point is that it's difficult to be accepted in the society. Why? Because we include humans, we include real people, and we test them. So ethically, they're not accepted in the society. Now, we finished qualitative methods and quantitative methods. We have an external type of research method, which is called participant observation. In this type of research, it's the study in which the researcher becomes a member of the group being studied. I'm studying a certain group instead of being outside and watching them. No, I join the group. I become one of the members of the group. Now, there are two options. The researcher may join the group and informing them that I'm a researcher and I'm running a certain uh, observation, or the researcher may join the group and not without informing the members that he or she is a sociologist running a certain observation. Another type of a research method is combining methods. From the title, we combine qualitative and quantitative methods together. Why? To ensure different results or to ensure total results. I have a topic that needs both quantitative and qualitative information or methods. I need both emotions, words, and I need exact statistics. This is usually done in program evaluation in a very important topic that needs to be tested or observed or made a research about. It focuses on examining the different effects of different research methods on the same group, which means I have a group, I need to test it, but I do not want to test it on a quantitative base only. I do not want statistics. No, I need a full insight or full details about this group. So I will take all of the methods that are suitable for this group, quantitative and qualitative, so I can find all the answers that I need. Now, apart from discussing qualitative and quantitative methods, we picked a topic, we made our research, whether it's quantitative or qualitative, and we have our results. Now, in order to use these results, we need to use statistics. Sociologists use a statistical measure system to ensure that the results are unbiased. When we collect the information from our methods or observation methods or research methods, we need to divide them. Whether it's quantitative or qualitative, we need to divide them in certain paragraphs, in certain diagrams, in certain tables, so we can have clear, exact answers. This system, the statistical measure system, includes making averages. Mean, median, and mode. You must have all studied this in math. The mean is the average of all the numbers. It's calculated by adding all the digits together divided by their numbers. I have 5 or 4 digits. I add them all together. I sum them up. And the number that I get, I divide it by how many people or numbers do I have. Median is the middle number. How do I find the middle number? I arrange the numbers in order, in ascending order, from the smaller to the greater, and I pick the middle one. What if I have an even number and I don't have one precise number? I take the two middle numbers and I divide them by 2. The mode is the number that occurs most frequently. You need to go back, please, to page 45. There are certain steps of how to read a table or a graph. There are certain notes and points that you need to follow, such as reading the title and reading the legend or the map key first. You need to know the colors, you need to know what the title of the table or the graph is talking about. And then there are certain steps that you need to follow. Please go back to page 45, read the steps to complete the lesson. This was the end of the lesson that talked about the surveys, the research methods, which is chapter 2, section 1. Reread the whole lesson, please, part 1 and part 2. And if you have any questions, I will see you to answer the questions in the extra care session. Thank you.